The budget is not been signed, by the way. Well, some reports were done previously about that matter, and so we'll start with that one now.
Financial experts, bankers and economists gathered at the Sam Owabuwa Foundation for Economic Empowerment. They're here to assess the growth opportunities in the yet-to-be-passed 2013 budget and how these opportunities can translate into profitable economic realities. However, one area of concern pointed out by the participants is the delay in the passage of the bill. This budget is said to be awaiting reconciliation by the legislature and the executive.
I was afraid there were a few things in the budget that could delay. One of them being the non-provision of expenditure vote for SEC, for example, and also some things that were introduced into the budget as against what the executive submitted.
The executive is supposed to implement the budget. They prepare and implement, and the House or the National Assembly is supposed to reaffirm. But there's some differentials, especially with regards to the issue of the benchmark that was used, $75 and then $78, $79 as the case may be.
Despite the challenges facing the passage of this year's budget, there are expectations that it will be different from past ones in terms of allocation to priority sectors like education. Members of the legislators also say they will not compromise on certain items like constituency projects rolled over from 2012.
There are certain areas that personally I don't think we will compromise. Now, if we cannot eye on those creeks, those areas, then definitely we have no choice but to veto or to override the veto. It's a constitutional provision. It's done every day all over the world. We would not want to do it. It's legal, it's constitutional, but it removes the potency of the legitimacy of that of the budget. So it's a last resort.
Although the budget is regarded as a projection, its early passage, analysts say, would fast-track economic development. Bolaji Akinwale, reporting for Channels Television News.
Okay, well, so there you have that. But ever since then, the chief economic advisor to the president says the National Assembly and the executive arm of government are making, in his words, steady progress to make the budget, the 2013 budget, a reality. Well, we're going to look at that issue and, of course, legal perspectives also, as we're joined now by Mr. Fred Agbaje, who is a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, so many interesting perspectives on this matter. You've got some points which they think might be stolen. The Shopee project, the exclusion of funds for the Securities and Exchange Commission, the constituency project. It just goes on and on. But first and foremost, what's your impression about this? Because we hear people talk about the legality or otherwise of signing this budget and the process that it has to go through to make it a reality.
Well, first and foremost, the current impasse between the National Assembly, the lawmakers, and the executive is unwarranted if we actually had practiced our democracy in the manner it's supposed to have been practiced.
How do you mean?
I simply mean that, well, had there been consultation before the issue of appropriation came up? If there were consultation, is there no lobby? In other words, did somebody out of dictatorial tendency just wake up to prepare an appropriation bill which will in fact metamorphosize into a budget without consultation? Why I'm saying this is that when you look at democracy itself, one of the major constituents of democracy is consultation. Lobbying is also allowed. It's in my profession, the legal profession, particularly the judiciary, you cannot lobby. But in the political realm, you can. This is what we want to put into our budget. You have a look. Although we operate a system that is known as separation of power, that does not mean that the three the three organs of government will never meet. There's no watertight separation of power anywhere in the world. But people still meet to iron out their differences before coming back together. You don't want war. Ours is a difference. But because of that military mentality, arrogance, it is my domain. It is within my constitutional responsibility to do this. I am not going to consult with anybody. I'm not going to do this. That does not go well for our democracy. We would have avoided all this. Democracy simply means majority rule. But what we have today in Nigeria is more or less of a dictatocracy, which is another form of arrogance being brought into democracy. Otherwise, what is in an appropriation bill? The appropriation bill has been passed by the National Assembly since October and sent to the presidency in December. We are almost at the tail end of the first quarter. Well, by next week or thereabout now, we'll be in March. And by the end of March, the first quarter is over. You'll be getting set to go into the second quarter, and yet there's no budget. How does an economy grow? When you talk about growth in the economy, you want jobs to be created. Young ones are leaving the universities. Unemployment is on the increase. Every now and then we hear of Boko Haram attack. We need to spend money. And in the situation, people are still arguing about the legality or otherwise of budget. It does not go well for the larger economy.
But when the law says we've got, is it a 6-month window?
You see, Section 58. You see, thank God that we have a constitution, a living constitution. You see, this document, this 1999 constitution, as endlessly amended, it's very clear as to what the presidency should do and the role of the National Assembly. I listened to one of the honorable members of the National Assembly. You see, people should stop exercising powers that they don't have under the Constitution. The appropriation bill came from the executive. It cannot be law because the federal government cannot spend 1 kobo unless it is appropriated for. In other words, unless there is a law to back such an expenditure. That's the whole essence of appropriation. It's one of the fundamental constitutional responsibilities of the National Assembly. Apart from appropriating, they also legislate, and the third one is oversight responsibility. Appropriation simply means that they pass the appropriation law to become budget. And when they pass it by the two houses of the National Assembly, it is now forwarded to the president, who is the chief executive officer, to now assent or withhold his consent. And the president, under Section 58, subsection 4, has just 30 days within which to assent, put his signature on it, or withhold that signatory. 30 days. Shall. Within 30 days. That's what the Constitution says.
Let's talk about that shall, the word shall, in this in the Constitution.
You see, when Constitution uses phrases like shall, give me 2 minutes. You see, I have listened to argument. People say, oh, the word shall in Section 58, subsection 4. That is, the president shall within 30 days. Some people have argued, particularly some of my colleagues, with due respect to them, and some politicians. So they felt that, oh, the word shall is merely directive, that the president is not even bound. Even the minister for finance said it last week. He said, well, the president will this week sign the budget. I begin to ask myself, which budget? The budget that has been submitted to the presidency since December? Almost 2 months? Any attempt by the president to sign that bill, purported attempt to sign it now, will be an exercise in constitutional futility. It will lack legitimacy.